Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Fairclough, and I'm a member of the Platform Solutions team here at SmartSimple. Today, I'm joined with a couple of my team members, and we're going to be doing a presentation about some of the custom fields you can find within SmartSimple Cloud. Just a couple housekeeping items before we get started. This session is being recorded and will be posted to our YouTube channel. It just takes about a week to get everything edited and uploaded. And we love to hear your questions, love to hear your feedback. We'll be doing a Q&A session at the end. Please feel free to post questions throughout and we'll do our best to answer all of them. And so without further ado, I will pass it over to Morgan, who's going to get us started. Thanks, Morgan.
Great. Okay, I'll just share my screen. 1 second. Hi, everyone. So today I'm going to be discussing two custom field types. The first custom field type is the advanced data table, and this field can be used to create worksheets and tables. A really common use case for an advanced data table is creating a budget or an inventory list within an application. So I'm going to be going over the process of setting up a basic dynamic data table using a pre-existing one in our demo system. There are various use cases for this type of field. So I would definitely suggest checking out the SmartSimple Wiki article on advanced data tables to learn about the various options. So I'm in a record here and I have my advanced data table field set up so that when I click on this button, I get a pop-up window that has a title, some instructions, as well as two different sections. And I know that it's dynamic because I can add and delete rows. So I'm going to go into the configuration settings for the field to show you how this is set up. So click into this. So we have the field type, which is special advanced data table. We have a field name and a caption. And then we have the page layout section. So this defines what the table is actually going to look like. And in this case, we're using a custom one. So it's kind of been designed specifically for us. You can also choose the default option, which will give you the option to set a title and some instructions, but it'll just give you a very basic table. So this is probably the easiest one to use, but it doesn't give you a lot of flexibility for design. And then we do have a third option here where you can select the custom button and then choose sample template, and it will populate a sample template into the box here. And that's going to be, again, a really basic data table, but then you can add different features and tweaks into the section here. So I also want to point out under the button options, the show clear button, which we've toggled on. So I would definitely suggest adding this because it allows the user to basically delete all of the inputs in the table in one go instead of having to individually delete the inputs for each cell. You can also set up the display here. So add some instructions as well as customize the button label and add a tooltip. And then finally, I want to point out the enable builder, which is toggled on under feature. So this is automatically toggled on when you create this kind of field, but just make sure to leave it turned on because you'll need it in order to create the sections of your table. So once you click save, you'll get a few more options added up here. And the place where you actually build the table out will be in this section builder. So we already have two sections built here, so expenses and revenues. If you wanted to add a new one, you could just click on this plus button up here. But I'm just going to go into the configuration for our expenses section. So we have a section name and a section node name. The name is going to be what is displayed externally, and then the section node name is how you're going to reference this section internally. So if you ever wanted to update the name of the section, just update this, leave the node name as is. Then you can set how many rows and how many columns are available in the table. If you want it to be dynamic, like the one I showed you earlier, you need to set the number of rows to 0 in order for it to give the user the ability to add more rows and delete them. You can also set a maximum number of rows. So if you don't want someone adding 100 rows, for example, you can set that limit here. And then you can go into the cell details section, and this is where you actually set up the columns and rows. So in this case, it's dynamic, so we're not using a display name. We just need a node name just in case we need to reference these rows elsewhere in the system. Then we have a display name for our first column, and it's saying it's only going to accept text. So if the user input numbers, for example, in this column, it wouldn't save, it would reject that input. Same goes for the description column. It's only going to accept text. But then for the date column, the format it's going to accept is a date. So you can't just type anything in. It has to be a date in order for that information to be accepted. And then finally, we have the value column, which is only going to accept currency. So this is a numeric format. So we have the option to toggle on has total, which will calculate all of the values in this column and then display the total at the very bottom. So once you've configured your table, you can click build, and it'll generate the table I showed you earlier. Now you also might want to display the information in your table directly on the record, and you can do that by creating a display text and variables field, which is the kind of field I have right here. So the way you can set this up, I'll go into configuration mode, show you how it's been structured. So again, it's a display text and variables field. And here I'm actually using a syntax in order to pull information from my data table into this field in order to display that information. And so just to show you what the syntax is asking for, I'll just paste a blank one here. So it wants you to provide the custom field name of your advanced data table and also the section node name for the section that you want to display. And you can find the section node name just by going back in to the settings of your advanced data table, going into your section builder, go to the section that you want to display, and then just copying that section node name right here. And keep in mind, it is case sensitive, so it does need to match it exactly. So that's it for me today. I'm going to pass it over to Stephen.
Just going to share my screen. So today I'm going to be talking about custom field type special MS Word merge fields. So the MS Word merge field can be used to pre-populate data from the system into a Word document template. You can use this field for award or declined letters, as well as some reports, as well as invoices. So now to see how the Word document will populate, we'll go into a record. I'm in one of our demo systems. So I'm just going to click on approved applications. And here you'll see that there's a button for the award letter word merge. So I'm just going to display what happens. So when I click on this button, this letter will populate. So you'll see that the MS Word document has pre-populated information as well as some hard-coded fields as well too. Now, in order to create this MS Word doc, you would have to first go and build a MS Word document here. So here you'll see is an example. I have a few hard-coded words as well as some MS Word fields as well too. Now, to add some of these fields, you would just go into the document, and then there you would go into Insert, you would go into Quick Parts, you would go into Field, and there you would just scroll down to Merge Field, and then there you just type in whatever field you would like to name it. So let's say test 1, click OK. So now you'll see that this is basically a MS Word field. So now in order to configure this in the system, once you've completed the document, you would go into your system, and there you would go into your smart folders. So here, to get into your smart folders, first you go to your menu, then click on smart folders, and here you'll see it takes you to the smart folders area. Now you would have to upload this template into any smart folder you choose. So for our example, we're going to choose the files, and then we're just going to upload our saved document here. So here you'll see there's a copy of this document there. So now once you've saved the template into the smart folders, in order to configure this, I'm going to just go back to the application. And here I'm just going to click on Tools, Configuration Mode. And I'm just going to show you how the configuration is done. So here I'm going to open up the field. So now in this field, obviously, when you're creating the new field, you'll choose a special MS Word merge field. Then you just provide the field name. So in regards to configuring the or mapping the fields, the MS Word fields as well to the system fields, you would have to first incorporate the field name, the MS Word field name here. You'll see is root company. This is just one of the fields that we have in our document. Then there you would add the equals to. And after that, you would add the field name. So this is the SmartSimple field name. So anytime you want to pull data into that document, you just have to make sure that you pull the correct field name. So you can see that here we have a hide if not found syntax. So if you include this, all it does is it just whatever, let's say if the field is blank in the record, it will just populate a blank space. So you won't see the system variable here populating in your record. So that's the only reason why we have them in here. So you could choose to have them incorporated or not into your template. So once you've completed all the mapping and all the MS Word fields to your SmartSimple fields, you would just make sure you pull the correct file or the correct MS Word template document. So here we're going to go to folder type. We're just going to choose a smart folder. And here we're going to look for the actual document that we're going to pull, the template. And so here we'll just click on the lookup. And here you'll see it selects a few options available. So I put the document in my files folder, and then I just choose the document you want. So once you click on that, it'll pull the correct document. And then once there, you could just go ahead and change the button label if you want. That's up to you. And that's pretty much it in regards to configuring the MS Word merge field. So now I'll pass it on to Banky that will be able to help you in regards to the next field.
Hi, everyone. I'm just going to start by sharing my screen. So my name is Banky, and I'm going to be talking about a couple more list type custom fields. The very first one I'm going to be focusing on is the select many checkbox custom field. And this field type basically allows you to select multiple values in a list format or a checkbox format. And the idea is to display a bunch of options that can be checked in the list. And so this record that I'm in as an example has different checkbox custom fields that have been configured in it. And I'll go into the configuration of some of them just to talk about how they've been configured. So if I go into the tools and to the configuration mode for this very first field, which is the age group served, you see that we've given it a nice little name, a caption. You can include a description if you'd like. And then in here is where you select or set the predefined options, which are the values that are being displayed. For this very first one, we've set the predefined options to be the store value in the system to be equal to the display value. And the display value is actually what is being displayed in the list of items to be checked. And you also notice that they're all separated by the semicolon. So you type in the store value equal to the display value, semicolon, and then the next value, and then the next value. You can also determine where you'd like the caption to be, the caption for the field. So you can either have it on the left-hand side of the field, like here, or above the field, like in some of the options that we see in this record. You can also determine, the number of columns that you'd like, and you can decide to sort the options to display vertically, and I'll talk about that in a few other examples later on. And then you can just give like basic field settings, like whether or not you want it to be mandatory. You can add, you can try to track changes. You can add instructions or a nice little tooltip. And then if I go into the next example, you see here that it's been configured slightly differently. First of all, the predefined options are just the display values, and they're still separated by the semicolons. It's also having the caption above the field, but it's been configured to have four columns, and those columns are basically 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's how this one has been configured differently. And then the very last one that I want to talk about has a little difference as well. Again, the predefined options are separated by the semicolons. But this time it has 6 columns, and we've decided to sort the options to display vertically. So what that essentially means is if I uncheck that option, which I will in a second, you notice that let's, for example, give these display values a numerical value. So let's say this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, and it's arranging them in a chronological order. You notice that it's sorting the columns in a vertical manner rather than in a horizontal manner. So if I go ahead and uncheck that setting in here, you see that it arranges the very first 6 in the first row or in the top row. And then actually I'll need to refresh my frame. Once I refresh my frame and I go back into that field, you see that it now arranges all of the top options, all of the fields, the first 6 options at the top of the row, and then the bottom row has like the remaining 5 fields. So that's basically, you know, a little bit about the checkbox field type. The very next field type that I wanted to talk about is the select one drop-down list. And it's kind of the same idea, it's just more so in a drop-down format. So for this field, for example, you see that it has, you know, a bunch of options that are listed. But with regards to this field type, I'm also going to be talking a little bit about the dynamic field visibility control. And a dynamic field essentially is basically a field that lets you choose one value that will determine what other fields will be displayed. So for example, if the select one here is the default option, and if I select no as my answer, nothing happens. But if I select yes, you see that a bunch of additional fields are displayed. Going into the configuration of this particular field, you see that it's still just the same basic procedure of having select one as your first value, and then yes, and then no. Those are the predefined options. But to control the dynamic field visibility, you have to go into the actual UTA, and then you go into the configuration settings of the UTA, the application, and then go into the dynamic field visibility controls. And since this one has already been configured, I'll just show you what it looks like. Basically, in here is where you see the main field, and then the drop-down option that has like a dynamic visibility. So it's the yes option that basically has the option for all the subsequent fields that are still being displayed once yes is chosen. So the 3 options or 3 values in this field are select one, which is the default, yes, and then no. And when yes is selected, that's when these subsequent fields are being displayed. And you can create as many branches as you'd like, but that's the whole general idea about the dynamic field visibility control. And those are the 2 custom fields that I wanted to talk about today. And right now I'll be passing it on to Sarah.
Great, thanks everyone. It was really informative to learn about a few more of our custom fields. So again, yeah, if you have any further questions, please feel free to reach out to us. So we hope everyone had a great time listening and joining us on our presentation. We appreciate you all taking the time, and we'll talk to you later. Hope you have a great rest of your days. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.